All right, welcome back under the rug, and my good buddy for the first time.
Yay!
We supposed to do this. We supposed to do this a few weeks back, but yeah. But she is here nonetheless today, and off in private, she started to discuss her experience as a juror, and I thought it was so fascinating that we had to do a show about it because she opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't even know was taking place, and it made me come to this position that, in my personal opinion, I don't think juries make sense.
They don't.
It doesn't make sense.
Not now. They don't. Waste of time.
We're not all peasants.
Right.
Patrina stories. I was like,
Yes, it does. It doesn't make any sense at all, and I think we really need to revamp that because it's become an injustice system, in my opinion. No one is receiving justice, and so
Not the victim, not the
that's
jury,
sad.
right.
But what a waste of time.
Not the jurors, not anybody, not the public.
not anybody.
Right. So we're gonna.
It's a very immature system, I think. I mean, the judge, my judge was awesome, but I think it's like it's very very hard.
So
Sorry, Lord, why? When my sound come on and I put it on mute. You know when you push the iPhone down and it's cold? No, I didn't push it
your
down.
mic was off there.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's.
Okay,
that's-
great. Nothing.
You
I
almost
said.
get served injustice just now.
That's right.
People wouldn't have been able to hear you.
Not at all.
Oh, that's that fellow who say she do boring it. Come
Must
in here
be.
sneaking in and cut off her mic.
Too intellectual.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, people
is
don't want
intellectual.
Yeah, people don't want to hear no
Patrina is
intellectualism.
intellectual.
I know. People
I'm
don't want to
sorry.
hear
I'm
that.
just telling you the truth, right?
They want to hear Charlie Juice and no.
Yeah, that's the love and hip hop era we live in. Unfortunately.
Well, there is that too
Yes.
in the
I
jury
can't believe
pool.
I gave up on that. I still am so proud of
I am.
myself.
Listen.
What?
Basketball Wives, Love and Hip Hop. I
Isn't
don't
your
watch
life
none
better?
of them no more. Hollywood Wives.
Really?
Married to Medicine.
Talking to Chrissy.
Oh, sorry,
I
Married to
never
Medicine.
watched that.
Isn't your life better now? Don't you feel more at peace?
Well, I mean, I don't
What are
say,
those
I wouldn't
things?
say I feel at peace.
See, she
She's
said
all
what
the
it was
ratchet
saying. See,
chills.
that's why she's so
Trina
smart.
is a big time accountant and CPA. She ain't got
No,
time
I'm
for
not
no
a big
little bit of-
count. Those are lies too.
No, come on, Trina. You know
No,
you live
not
deep and
accountant,
intellectual.
not a CPA.
Trina, what's the ratchet show you watch?
None. See that?
None.
Bing.
Game of
CNN
Thrones.
headline news. That's ratchet.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
But let's talk
Well,
about this
Cersei is
ratchet,
ratchet.
justice system we got.
Yes, Lord.
Because that's all I know how to describe. I never been. Fortunately, I haven't
Yes.
served.
Don't
jury
tell
duty.
anybody your name.
Never?
Never, and I don't want to. And I think
How
it's
many times
actually.
you been voting?
I start my
Well,
first
well,
time
when
voting
you
was
go there, right, and they
election
ask
before
you
the-
like, do you want to do the Bible or affirm, and just tell them immediately you're an atheist, they'll chuck you real far out the.
You think I could get off of the
Yeah.
jury if I tell them that?
Yeah, just tell them you are a total atheist.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Because
beautiful.
I affirmed and like,
Wait, hold on. You affirm?
yeah, I
affirm?
affirmed.
You didn't swear in the Bible?
No, you can. They'll actually accept
That's
you.
an option. Like when I was
It's an
registering
option.
to vote, they said it's an option,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
said,
well, I mean, I kind of like,
You affirm, Trina.
yes.
yeah. So let's talk
A
about
few
it.
of us did.
Who
Yeah.
funded
Okay,
it?
let's
Huh?
start from the beginning.
That's Keitra. Oh, jeez. Anyhow, Keitra managing the comments.
Oh,
You guys do a terrible job at
Yeah,
that.
Greg, you suck at
Yeah,
that.
because I
Where
get
are
caught up in
they?
the
Where are
conversation.
they?
Just be rowing me.
I need to see myself, man.
You need to, well, keep,
See what I'm
Keitra must
hunching,
see it.
I got
If you're
my
on your phone,
fat-
you can look at it on
See
your
yourself
phone.
there.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, why my knee looks so numb?
Oh my gosh,
I gotta
my-
learn how to fix my leg properly.
I'm never wearing this shirt again. I'm all
No,
unaligned.
Greg cameras make your belly look big.
Well, mother sick.
No,
Boy,
but the
you know,
lines
woman,
are all not
you know, woman has
horizontal,
noticed
straight.
all these things that they ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah, I do.
My goodness, last week she was talking about the short she had on.
Yeah.
I say y'all can watch yourself now. But let's talk about it.
Okay, great.
Firstly,
Firstly.
what are the rules?
Oh my
if
gosh.
someone is selected to sit on a jury,
Right.
what are the do you have an option to say, listen, I don't feel as though I can handle this. I don't
No.
want to
Yes,
take part.
absolutely.
Do you have an option?
At the
Okay, so
beginning,
tell us,
yeah,
Trina.
at the beginning, they actually read the charges, and you know what the case is about, and you're told that if at any time you feel, number one, you can't be objective, you cannot handle the facts, or you think it's going to be too graphic for you, you have to say it before, as far as possible, you should say it before you start. If not, say it the moment you feel it, because there are alternates.
Okay,
right?
good.
So that
your
is all
case.
I didn't know that.
disclosed. That is all disclosed.
I didn't know
Then,
that, Joy.
as you are picked, so the bailiff gives you a number and your name, and they pick it out of the box. And once you take a seat, the defense and the crown has a chance to not want you, reject you for whatever reason. Yeah.
The defense can.
The crown can say if they know you to be perhaps in some way connected, or even if you know them, anyone attached to the case, in a way that you cannot objectively think about, view the facts of the case, you need to recuse yourself. Then the defense, I think, has a few chances. I'm not exactly sure of the number, where they can reject you without cause. So if they look at you,
without cause,
in the sense where without giving a reason. So after they exhaust that, which is 3,
say, I don't want you to be on the jury.
Yeah, after they exhaust 3 times, then they have to explain why they want it. And I think they have a few more chances. But what it could be is that in this case where I sat, it was a murder case. And
Graphic murder.
Yeah, graphic murder. And so, women of a certain age who might have sons that age might be recused because they're too emotionally involved in it. And we know there's a lot of crime now of young men being murdered, and so there's a bigger pool, unfortunately, of mothers who grieve that way, right? So they can choose to recuse you. The first case that I was called for, like I almost lowered myself in the chair, and I was rejected. So that was fine. There was no cause. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah. There was no pattern even. I couldn't see any pattern.
They must look at you and say, this ain't one of our peers.
Maybe. That's the thing, right? When I thought, okay, if I'm going to be...
Chinese people.
No, but the peers, right? You have to be judged by a jury of your peers, the defendant's peers.
Oh, those kind of peers.
And clearly,
but come on now.
So I thought, except in a very, very rare case, I wouldn't be anybody's peer, right?
Hello?
And that's what's so weird. And you done served jury duty before me?
Yeah. You must be even more peerless
Well,
than I am.
Well, I need to stay peerless because I don't have no interest in serving on no jury.
I wouldn't show.
Yeah, no.
Well, my excuse has always been, because I've been called, I used to take a delight
If you
in-
work for yourself, you can go and tell them. Yeah.
that's what I do.
Okay,
Because
awesome.
you
I always say,
you
right.
definitely work. Like if you
I
miss
don't
a
work, I
day,
don't
you
get paid.
can't. You don't get
Exactly.
paid.
And
Then
that's
you
what I
work with
tell
your
people.
hands.
Right.
'Cause
So
I've
you've
been-
been
Twice.
on any.
No, but
Okay.
every time I go, I say I work for myself. And if I don't work, I don't get paid. And I think you get, $5 to park and $15 for lunch or something?
No,
I'm like, I can't
$15
pay my
basic.
For everything.
I said,
Every
I can't
day,
pay for
a
my
day.
life. Sorry. See, jury duty is for people who either work for themselves, who have sweet government jobs they want to get off of. Because we
Yeah.
all know you have some people who love serving on the jury. Like that's
Really?
all they.
Yes, for
that's all they
drama.
live
Yes,
for.
there's a people. Yes,
Seriously.
Drama?
yeah,
I know
and to
people who
share
are jury
things and like
junkies.
yeah,
What?
to be
Yeah.
the boss.
But they print your names every year. There was a time I used to read it over the radio. I used to be like, ha ha, Eddie, you on jury duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Malaysia when this nice friend of mine actually screenshotted the
And sent it to
took a pic of the newspaper and says, "Hey, look." And I was both on it. I'm like, "No, man."
the two of y'all on
Yes,
it.
we were on at the same time.
Okay.
So
Really?
Wayne came back from Malaysia. He went. I don't think he sat on any jury. So this is how the process works, right? You are called for a period of 2 months at a time. So you have January, February, March, April, May, June, that kind of way. So when the bailiff called him in Malaysia, when Wayne went home, he asked, when he went to report for jury duty, he went to the next courtroom where I was called, and he asked about how, he told them when I would be back, which was later in January. And the bailiff said, never mind, tell her report as soon as she comes, because this is the shortest session. Because they don't start until middle of January because of the Christmas holidays, and they end in February. The thing is that, the case that I got picked for started in February, and it was 6 weeks, so it went all the way into March, right?
That was a
Now,
long 6 weeks.
yeah, and Wayne, and so if you don't get picked, every Monday you get selected. So normally you report there for 10 o'clock, and then you sit down, you're in that pool. So there's 45 jurors per pool, and I think there's 10 courtrooms or something like that. And so in any one session, there's this 400 people in the pool. And then you sit there. If you don't get selected, you go home. And they have very high hopes, right? All the cases are going to be ended in 1 to 2 weeks. So you either told you come back the next Monday, where
In the
you
Bay
might,
Area
because there's
Justice
different, and come back and just report for duty, and then so if you are lucky and you just have to come every Monday for 2 months.
So does it work like what we see on TV? Like, do the defense and the prosecution question you as a juror? You know, because we see all these shows on TV.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Oh,
like
you
that?
mean as to question
when
you
get,
before you get selected?
Yeah,
before you get
be
confirmed?
honest? Do you have any reason why you would be, biased on this case? Like, do the attorneys in the cases ask jurors questions before they're impaneled?
Well, I know that the few times that there was one time when the Crown actually asked a juror to be recused, and the judge asked for the reason, and then the judge deemed it immaterial, so the juror stayed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Crown said that they knew them, like just cursorily, and
but everybody know everybody.
Yeah, in the Bahamas, and
that's
this is what the judge said. The judge said it's fine, that's fine. So,
but that could
the
pose a problem. Go ahead, sorry.
Why?
No, I just say because we're so close knit, small society.
Yeah, we are never really objective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think also what happens too is that we then can't ever really guarantee an objective trial for the defendant, because even in this case where the crime was committed on another island, we all have people on the island who then talk about it. Yes.
I heard about the case.
Yeah.
And your case was particularly gruesome.
Yeah.
Like, I asked you, like, when you saw the pictures, that didn't freak you out?
It really did. Like, I had to, but I thought to myself, when the judge paneled us and he, gave us our directions, I'll tell you, this Judge Bernard Turner was really, I think, the epitome of what I would think if I, God forbid, ever went on trial. Wanted someone like that to preside, because he was very calm, very organized,
I heard he's thorough,
very thorough, very, I think the way he spoke to us was clear. There was no overt emotion. He was also very straightforward in saying, okay, that's enough here. And he had control of his courtroom.
Good.
So, to me, what was lacking is the things that jurors should know beforehand. So I agree with you in the sense that we should literally have jury people on these pools that are qualified mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. I mean, in the sense of being balanced, right? Not like not judging people on vibes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
How do they say vibes? How does one determine your mental competence? Because you have the jury list comes from the voters' cards. Many incompetent people vote.
Yeah, and that's my position is most people shouldn't even vote.
You actually vote because you're of age. There's nothing other than that.
Exactly.
No qualification.
So who determines who's
when you go
competent?
to register, and like let's say that's a good day and you're on your lithium, nobody even knows that, for the other 364 days you're
cuckoo.
Yeah, nuts.
So how do they determine that's what I understand about the jury selection.
That's my point. Wow. That's why when I spoke to Greg about it one day, I said, like, I took to wanting to drink every night, on that jury. I mean, I tried to be objective, but it always struck me, and this is what the judge said to us, right? He said, you have to be objective for the sake of the victim and for the sake of the defendant.
Right.
Okay.
Because you are standing you are considering the facts to be fair to them.
But some people can't read past grade 12 level.
But contrary to popular belief, the issue is you are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Right.
But unfortunately, we prosecute people and we deem them guilty before the trial even starts.
But this is why we have to have, so first of all, in our schools, right, we don't teach analytical skills. Right? We don't teach emotional intelligence.
Yes,
we don't, right?
Yeah,
okay,
we
don't.
Big one.
So, and then we don't teach, I think, restraint, where if you look at somebody and you might have been watching too much TV, right? And this person looks to you like a thug or your idea of a thug, you cannot sit down and say, "Oh yeah, you know he's guilty."
Oh, he's guilty.
He guilty. Yeah, I guilty. I look in
You
his
see the
eyes
front
and I saw
officer?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one
So
of my.
people actually did these
Say
kinds
that.
of things?
Yes,
Really?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into some of the stories.
Wow.
Give us the breakdown. Let's go.
So here's
Trina,
the.
Let's go
Reliving
from
it
the
again?
beginning. The very first thing that you saw and you were like, this cannot
This
be
is
real.
it. When we sat down, this lady said, and when we gathered, she says, "Yeah, I look at him, and he looked right at me, and he's guilty."
Wow.
Just as you
I
walked
was
in.
like,
For
this
the
is like
case.
we sat down. The judge told us, "Okay, come the next day, right? Come the next day."
Wow.
And when we went into the jury room, so that we could like organize ourselves, sign the book and make sure we know where we are supposed to be, what kind of
Right.
clothes we're supposed to wear, all that kind of that stuff.
Right.
This is what she said. I looked at
Wow.
her and like, okay, so I did not know anybody there.
Right.
Some of the other people knew each other because they're like this,
Jury
serial
junkies.
jurists,
Jury
okay?
junkies.
And
Jury junkies, hashtag.
and
Jury
it's
junkies.
and I'll tell you that I think there are maybe 3 or 4 like main personalities that I saw. Now there were people who were very. There were like 2 ladies who I really respected. They were very quiet. They were very considerate. They could have fun because we tried to socialize. So we were in there 8 hours of the day, sometimes together, right?
Eating breakfast,
Make
lunch,
jokes
dinner.
and yeah, just and
You all
like
had 2
me.
weeks?
No, we didn't have no meat. We only had food on the last day when we
What you
we had to
Look, hold on.
deliberate.
I'm gonna consider this jury duty.
I can't remember.
What y'all had?
No, boss, you didn't
Based
run
on the
that.
based on the menu.
Oh,
you
based on the
decided.
menu, I can decide if I can serve.
No, you wouldn't. You could cook better than all of that.
No, but don't Trina's free food. I said, amen.
Boss, really,
Free
boss,
food.
no,
Free
ew, yucky.
And
No.
then in your case too, like I remember when you were, because I happened to be around you a lot when you were dealing with it. You also had to travel, and that seemed very inconvenient to me. Did it feel that way to you?
It was this idea of wow, we get a free trip, let's go, and I'm like,
Girl, you
okay,
been
it's
Cat
really
Island.
scary to be to look at the pictures, right? And
And do you have to look at them when you're on the jury? Do you have to see the gore?
we have to
I
see
mean,
it
if it's
all
evidence,
the time.
eh?
It is
If it's
evidence,
You
yeah.
have to take a look at
Yeah.
it. You can't say,
Yeah.
listen, I ain't looking at this.
And then you had to get the people, the pathologists who came and described what you were seeing, and you were like, oh my
Ugh.
God.
So
So
let's go back to the thing. I want to get.
okay, so
you were joined
the-
from the
these
beginning.
are the characters,
you said there was
right?
2
Yeah.
ladies you respected.
Yeah.
Right. Let's continue on that path.
And then there was like, there was a guy, 2 guys also who were really cool and calm. And actually, I thought everyone was kind of, for the most part, okay in terms of, considering it, except for the lady who had that outburst. And then,
And she said this loud, or
That was
yes,
in a thought bubble.
Why was she
room
not
was like
dismissed?
no, she was right there in the
He'd look at me.
in the room, and I thought, and I said, but.
Wow.
Is this what we're supposed? Isn't this supposed to be reported? This is what I asked the
See why
jury
Sarah
foreman.
trouble? I don't trust a jury of my
me
peers.
neither?
No,
'Cause
no,
half of them
no,
nutty.
there would be no jury of your peers. Because
why.
there's like
Child, that's
maybe
why I
8 of us
stabbed.
who are the same as you. Okay, who
That's
think
why I
like
didn't stab the husband, child, because I'd be like, no, I can't go to jail.
Gosh,
You
don't
can't
do that.
fake-
It's so
Well, if you have-
nasty,
if
man.
you
You
have-
should get
Trina's
someone
true.
else to stab him for
This
you.
is true. I know you don't bloody your own hands.
Sheepers.
You're doing OJ. No, let me stop.
Have I taught you nothing?
I know. Ninja, teach me ninja.
So, and then, but what I found is that I had to really, in my mind, like, wrap my head around the fact that there is none of this is taught to us, right? A lot of us are not even raised to be considerate of anyone else. So there is not this mercy in our souls. There's not this consideration of extraneous circumstances, and whatever the judge was telling us and how we were supposed to, we were literally going in blind. Okay, so you don't know the rules until the end when the judge explains to you how to consider the facts. But I'm thinking
Well, he's
it was so
explaining how to consider the facts
after
the facts have
when
been
we
presented.
have to be
Right.
when we have to
Deliberation.
deliberate. And then what I found also from experience was you can question, right? The jury can send questions after
During the trial?
during the trial when
Prosecution and
to the witness. Yeah, the prosecution
defense?
and defense have questioned. We can actually ask questions to the judge of the witness.
Oh,
If we
okay.
don't understand, or we can ask for clarification.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
But we can only ask for clarification of facts that have been issued. Like if you said I was at Lakita's house from 10 to 12 a.m. on Tuesday, then I can't say, where were you on Wednesday? I can only question you within the limits of the evidence, what has been presented. So, of course, I didn't know that because, my head was in, like, law and order mode, right? So when I'm listening to the evidence, I'm like, but this part is missing and that part is missing. Right. I'm taking notes. So the first time I send a question through, the foreman will look around and take all the questions and hand it to the bailiff, who gives it to the judge, and the judge decides which questions are appropriate according to the rules of the courtroom, right? Okay. Of course, I didn't know that. And so after he done scorched out my 90% of our questions, then he explained to us.
Your question? How many lines?
No, it wasn't long. I actually wanted to know what was this missing piece. Like, how come we hadn't asked this person to testify, right? And that's when he explained. He said, you can only question within the bounds of the evidence that has already been given.
Now, what do you think led to that policy or rule? Like, don't you think it would be beneficial to the case if, say, the questions that you had, because you guys ultimately are the judges in this case, and so these were clearly questions that you had that would help you to come into a decision. Right. Well, so don't you think it would help the case if your questions were allowed?
Well, the judge is actually the ultimate judge, right? So even if we returned what do you call it, a verdict that was totally not that could be arrived at based on the evidence, they could be overturned and a mistrial asked.
Really?
So he's the end judge. I mean, I think as we get more and more mature, that probably happens less. But I think what happens is that certain evidence is deemed acceptable and not acceptable at the beginning of the trial for whatever reason. Number one, how it's obtained, right? Number two, whether it can be supported. And so there might be evidence for whatever is missing, what the missing piece that we see, but it might not have been permitted to be admitted, and it might have already been in this case where it was a second trial, it might have been in the first trial and declared not acceptable. It might have been the piece of information that created the fact of the mistrial. So there are things like that, and so you have a lot of, for me, missing pieces. I don't know whether it also helps to cover up the ineptitude of the prosecution, because the defense was awesome. Yeah, I know.
And I've heard that that's usually the case. You have a great defense and a weak prosecution.
But who does most of our prosecutions a lot of times?
I have no idea.
Again, the Crown, unfortunately, the AG's office, sometimes you have policemen who are prosecutors who haven't really been to law school per se and can't match wits.
Hold on, wait. You say policemen are prosecutors?
So in some
cases, on
really?
not non-Supreme Court, non-Supreme Court cases.
Just like civil cases,
but I know for a fact that
when I've been in court, like police prosecutors handle these cases, and they're going up against these attorneys from these big 5 law firms. That's like putting a pit bull.
But that's a problem within itself. Right. Why do we do that?
That's the British system that we inherited.
It's also what your money buys, eh?
Well,
I mean,
true.
So I mean, I know that's kind of blunt, but that really, to me, that's what it was. It was like the other thing that was explained to me when I asked this, because I felt like to put it mildly, that they were really outclassed, right? Is that the prosecution sometimes, because they're so inundated with so many cases, that particular team might have just got these documents last week. Yeah. So they have this week to prepare for when the trial is going to start. And a lot of what Wayne said is that so many times, even for the cases that he was called for, it keeps being postponed because they're not ready.
Why is this such a...
Because there's a huge overload of cases.
Not ready. Look, the Attorney General's office, Lord Carl Bettle, we gonna pray. Hold on, let me pray for you.
I don't understand
the Crown is always challenged, always. Now, sometimes the private practice attorneys are, but I know from going to cases, just watching cases in Supreme Court and even magistrates, a lot of times you're out, like Trina said, outclassed.
Yeah, the other thing is that so many charges are brought against. So the high level of crime makes for many charges, right? And then the many charges sometimes take so long because of the many charges that by the time you come to trial, you've actually can get a. You get off because you've been just held for so long without being charged. Yeah.
So often,
Yes,
like,
and then that like we've heard a lot about the nollie, right?
yeah.
And the nollie is well, the nollie is actually can be used for cases where the evidence is actually non-existent for whatever reason.
Yeah.
The
Especially
witnesses
rape
have
cases.
died. Yeah.
I see that happen in a lot of rape cases.
Or the witnesses no longer want to testify. Yeah, in rape cases, I mean, like basically the evidence is
He say,
done.
she say.
Girl got
gone.
raped
Yeah,
at 14.
and so
and at
and
20,
then now,
her case
yes,
is coming up.
yeah, and she's gone on with things like that. So
Our
I think
justice system
if
sucks.
that we went
It's an
through
injustice
that
system. Yeah,
and
man.
we
Boy, I like
culled
that
it,
injustice
then
system.
we would have this ability to properly prosecute and give people the justice or their chance at being judged fairly. But I tell you, being on the jury, the first thing I realized was human resources, right? We can't just let anybody serve on the jury.
This is my thing.
Okay? Like now that we're not
how
this
you
was
decide?
this
This is
was
why it makes no
created,
sense
boss.
to me.
This
How
was
you decide?
okay, so this system was created because it was like at first it was just the king judging you two peasants, right? And if he liked you and didn't like you, then off with your head, right?
Right.
So then after we became slightly more civilized, we were still all peasants and nobles. So instead of having nobles judge peasant crimes, nobles judge noble crimes, then they decided, okay, we'd have a pool of peasants judge peasant crimes, which at that point, since we're all peasants,
What was a peasant crime?
worked.
Stealing your chicken from the yard.
Oh, you know what? Your chicken wandered into my yard, so
And I
now it's
cooked
my
that bad
chicken
boy.
and it's curry, right? So then I'd have to go and say, listen, king, right? This chicken, he only has white chickens. All my chickens are red. You see how his chicken is red? The curry chicken is red? And so, which king wants to go adjudicate that? He'd be like,
right.
but
Leave
me
that
as
to
a
the
peasant
peasants.
who
Right.
has chickens be like, yeah, but
Yeah.
you did wrong, right? Okay,
Exactly.
give him back a chicken.
Right.
Done.
So
Right.
it may have made sense in that time.
Right.
It did. But now we're so differentiated, right? Like you're a musician, you're cookie caterer, you're so different from me. And we're cool, right?
Right.
But and intellectually we're pretty cool too. But
No, you
honestly,
smarter than the two of us.
no, I don't think
No,
so.
she is.
Okay,
Trina's
so
think
let's
differently.
just say this gentleman.
Uh-huh.
This gentleman was not judged by a jury of his peers. Like what?
And I
How
think
do
he
you
was innocent, too.
How do you ge-
But
how
that
do you
is-
define peer? Okay, let's
and another
define
thing
peer.
is, right?
When
that-
you read the particulars
I
of that case,
But I think that
something awry.
that concept within itself is flawed. Being judged by your peers, because let's say it's someone that had a rough upbringing,
Yeah.
rough life, poor neighborhood,
They gonna
poor
hate you.
circumstances, right? Undereducated, they do some, or let's say they're charged with something, they have a crime. So you want a pool of more abused, undereducated.
But that's what you're saying.
But this,
Yes.
this is why, like I
But
said,
this is not
that
what they
whole
mean.
concept is
Yes,
flawed.
yeah.
Because if you want to
But
be
it's the
judged by
best
your
we
peers,
got.
are the peers necessarily appropriate for
Yeah.
judging this person?
Yeah,
Even if
qualified.
Exactly. They may
Exactly.
not be qualified or anything, but they're his peers.
That's right.
So that's
Who
why it
wants a
makes
bunch
no
of
sense.
murderers judging adjudicating
Exactly.
for a murder,
Exactly. That's why the whole being judged by your peers, I don't subscribe to that. It
So
doesn't
what's
make
the
sense to me.
alternative?
Okay, but like me and Trina were discussing before we
For a
went
long
live,
time.
You
right?
and I talked about
I
this.
think it should be certain committees, a group of individuals that judge cases, and they have specific areas that they specialize in. So you have people that are business people, they specialize in business, and they could look out for crimes that were committed, white collar crimes. They could deal with the white collar crimes because they've been trained to study and analyze the evidence and deal with those circumstances, right? What you trying to okay, but just pick
Yeah,
up the
take
good
my
ones and
mic.
then we can read them later. And then you would have
like
people
Nelson
that are
comment.
trained in criminal law. In criminal circumstances, they may have been a person that was on the crime scene, investigator.
a mix,
former-
right? Psychologist.
Someone that does with psychologists. Like you have professionals that
Experts.
that are specialized in certain areas, and you have them sit They take in the evidence and they come to a decision.
You're taking the people
Yes.
free lunch.
But that's
$15 a day.
But people are losing their lives literally for free lunch.
Yeah.
Just
And
because
then a
we
lot of
have
people-
unqualified people judging them.
And the evidence is janky. I mean,
And that's a big responsibility.
Yeah,
You have someone's life
and
in
I
your
tell
hands.
Greg too, right? Like especially for these murder cases with graphic.
yes.
Yes, not everyone can handle
Not
that.
everyone
Plus, your
can
case,
handle
your
it.
one was in the paper so much.
Yeah, and so I think that too needs extra consideration because it's one thing I think we see gun violence, right? It's another thing to chop someone up in many pieces, and that is so I don't know whether it's appropriate to say, but that's not a regular murder, right?
No, we know what you
Someone
mean.
much more like able.
Yes, and emotionally stable as well.
And also used to considering crimes of violence, like
Yes.
criminal minds kind of people,
Yes.
need to be
Right.
doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I don't think it's fair. I think someone who is trained that way could look at the accused and say right away, okay, I don't think this man is capable after doing
the
the evaluations that he's capable of doing this. And then we are not wasting 6 weeks trying for us, lay people,
And we already backed
to
up.
think about that. The other thing is that, yeah, we should be trained. So from this pool, even when you're picking from that your committees, that pool should be already have been evaluated to a certain degree, right? And so whatever committee you have, you're right. It should be targeted that way because then I think justice really will be
Yes.
fulfilled.
No, the system does need a revamp, definitely.
Yes.
And we keep complaining about it. For years, we've been complaining about
Yeah.
this. Okay? In the 70s, when we had our challenges with the Attorney General's office, people have been complaining about it. But that's just it. We complain about it and we do very little.
Nothing.
I keep telling people, and I'm not breaching any confidence, working in the civil service before, I will admit, when I saw some of the filing rooms for the Attorney General's office, it gave me pause. I wonder, how do we carry out justice in this country? And see, and I know a lot of people are going to get offended with that. If you see some of the places where we store our legal documents, it will floor you.
Why are we still storing documents
Well, because
and filing
I
cabinets
guess,
and
child,
it's
we do things, though.
2017?
Greg, what's your voters card look like?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
But
that's where we at. We at ruler and pen and tape and glue.
Yeah, and so
we still at that.
I don't know
And
whether
the-
part of that has to do with like
Janky justice.
every
That's a good
time
hashtag.
so it was interesting because the police, right, who were the investigators, when they came to give evidence, and some of them, the first few were the ones, the first responders who went and investigated the murder site, took photos. They had photos on discs, right? But our photos were in these books that were threaded together by those
You know the little yarn
those
thread?
yeah
You
those
punch the hole into your yarn, the thread through
the,
entire.
and the ends
Greg,
have
you
those
never
metal
saw that?
thingies on it. They're stretchy, like the old court documents. You know,
I'm
yes.
trying to remember.
Yeah.
What?
Okay. Never mind.
Look here,
So
our court system is in the 70s.
and it's handwritten, and I don't know whether it's handwritten so that you could trace it back specifically to this officer who did it. They were. I mean, I know, but I'm really trying. You were with me at that
Niggas
time,
sharing
right?
computers.
I had to lay
That's why it's
down and
handwritten.
just like.
I used to be like,
I thought
Trina, you
about
okay?
these things all the time, Greg, because this
Yeah.
man's life was in our
That's
hands.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So, okay, so first of all, like, the playing field is not level, right? We go in there, there's this whole bunch of us who are definitely not his peers. We're not even our peers. Like, none of them was my peer. Okay, I don't think anybody in there was anybody else's peer. And we had great discussions, and we did hash out a lot of details and stuff like that. But then at the end, when we were deliberating, I realized, like, it was funny. When the case was going on, people wanted to be there because I did it. But some people wanted to be there because it was $15 a day, right? Then when it came to
That's lunch.
deliberating and really taking time, after all the evidence was given, the judge actually talked to us for 3 hours. He set no, it was the best 3 hours. He set up the whole process of how to consider, how to judge. If you found him, in order for this man to be convicted of murder, it was you had to be unanimous.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
So if there even was a piece of a doubt, there would be two things, right? He's either not guilty or he's guilty of manslaughter. And that had to be by a clear majority, right? And I'll tell you, as we went on and on, it went from not guilty, and it went slowly towards guilty of manslaughter. And I saw it. And when we reviewed I saw the way people went back to the other side, and it was because they felt that he somehow knew what had happened. Even if he didn't, how is that manslaughter, boss? Like, it's so not murder. It definitely wasn't murder, right?
They thought that he knew what happened.
Yes,
he didn't
and
do
so
it.
he had to go down for it.
And
so
this
that's
was
what
based
happened.
off of just their
Because
feeling, or
we saw video evidence, and we had spoken evidence from many different persons, and we also had photographic evidence. In the video evidence, he'd been just taken into custody. He claimed he'd been beaten twice, like he'd been put in a. What is this thing?
Did he look beaten?
He was limping, but he didn't show visible signs, and I don't know whether they were.
I want to put that in there.
Oh, the limping.
Was limping
Oh, yeah.
Was that a sympathy limp?
I have no idea. But what he said was that they put him into a body bag and zipped him up, and they beat him, and they dragged him around the floor. And so when he was, yes, he did. And he said also that, so the video that we saw shows him basically guiding them to the murder scene.
Really?
Yes, but it was cut up so much that later on, no, I mean, it's like, because it's like a amateur video, right? So it's like, when he's getting in the car, then it stops, and then it shows them the camera's pointing. Well, but that's what they were using. Yeah, that was what they were using. Because they showed it to us, because they had to come and play it for us. And but he looked disheveled because he'd been already in custody overnight. And he looked uncomfortable because he was shackled and also handcuffed behind. Yes, and the way he was explaining where to go in the video was was like as if you knew where you're going, right? Mm-hmm. Or I know where I'm going. Like I'm directing you to my house. But the thing is that he lived there. He lived on that island, and so my thing was that he's familiar with that. And later on, he said that they told him he had to make this testimony because his wife was also in custody, and they would charge her. So his claim was that he was coerced into it. Now, when we watched the video, that was what swung it over to manslaughter, right? It's like we all agreed he wasn't guilty of murder. So it was there was no unequivocal guilty. So we were now left with these two choices, right? Not guilty or manslaughter.
Well,
and
I'm curious to know, like, when was the video taken? Because you said it was highly publicized. It was a publicized murder. So if the location was somehow put out there,
yeah, this was evidence from the first trial also.
Right, like if he knows, well, okay, somebody died. I hear somebody get killed.
Yeah, everybody's gonna look.
Then I know how to get there.
Yes.
So does that necessarily mean that?
Well,
you know
I mean, this is the evidence that they took, was that that's what it meant. It meant that he knew exactly where it was, and he showed them where he did the deed, and then where he, put the body. And then at the end, it came down to people just wanting to go home.
Wow. Now, see, and that's important.
Yeah. And so,
that's why it's not fair.
I felt like, honestly, I'll tell you, I think you came the next day or the same day that I finished. And I felt, it was this man's birthday, the day we sent him back into Central.
Wow.
And it was like, we had a group, and at the moment we were done, in my car, in the parking lot, I was sad. I was so... I was upset.
You know what I mean?
It's like, and I wanted to do it and I wish that we could done it properly, because this was this man's life.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It's like we are supposed to consider him innocent until the evidence produced to us would convince us otherwise, and it didn't.
And without a doubt, you must have no doubt that this person did it.
And also it was like, we didn't. I felt like we didn't even consider it properly. At the end, we were just like, okay, Len, let's just go home, and I'm voting this way. And like honestly, I liked some of the people in there.
Right.
But that day in the parking lot, I just came out of that group. I just came
Wow.
I just could not like Greg. That was the worst experience of my life.
Wow.
Like,
And that shouldn't. And this is why it's like you shouldn't put this on regular people. But this is not something that you should.
yeah,
just
not
thrust
unless
people
we're like
into.
maturely, or if you educated us and raised us up properly and we were mature enough,
Right,
yes.
we could deal
but
with
then
it.
in a mature society, we wouldn't have these kind of crimes either.
Exactly. But let's get to why you feel it wasn't, because I think it's safe to say that you feel it wasn't fair. The result didn't come about in a fair way. So let's go. And I think there was one time you were telling me someone opened the door for y'all. Was it the accused?
Oh, it was him, yeah. So the thing
let's
is
get
okay,
into some of these things
before
that took place.
we knew what was going on. We'd been there like one day, another day. And so when you gather on Mondays, right, you are all kind of milling around, a Bank Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's many courtrooms there. So I was in the Ansbacher House courtroom on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're waiting in that area there, and you come outside. So when you first go into the main area, there's like benches on either side, and you wait there or you sign in. Then when the court opens, you have to file out the door and come in the front way, which is like behind some louvers. And you go in the front way, and the court is at the far end of the room where the judges sit facing the door, and the jury pool sits right there by the door. And the first day I went in, this gentleman opened the door, and I filed in. And when I sat down for my case, he was a defendant. But you see, the thing is that it's so unorganized. Boss, it's so unorganized that first day, this guy doesn't know.
The man who life in your hands.
They're told, right? Appear on this day. Appear on this. He didn't even know I was going to be on his jury. Honest.
So how are we so free to be moving about?
Because he was on bail. It's been 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Jeez, 4 years.
And look, so here's the thing. But
every attorney general.
But think of the crime that he was
This
accused
is what I'm
of.
saying.
Yes. So when I saw
That
the
must be
crime, it was
terrifying.
and I saw. I'm like, wait, this is the man who opened the door for me.
Yes.
But I don't get it. I mean, we have such a dichotomous system where it's like, first of all, everybody just turns up, right? Because I'm sure he was told appear because your case might be called that day or not. But then that day it wasn't called. So the next time when we came in, right, I'm sitting there in the jury pool, and the man goes into the cage, and I'm like, huh. And that's like no, seriously, Paul, like, but this is what we're faced with.
Right.
So, and then when you talk to Tavari Smith, who is for juvenile justice, you see how these young boys are. Listen, they carry them. The magistrate's court is this long, right? They have to walk from the cells. They are paraded all the way front past everybody in shackles.
Now,
so
system,
it's like we have no compassion.
Well, first of all, remember now, our system we inherited. I think a lot of it has to do with our colonial past. We inherited this system from the British back in the day. Back in the day. I know.
Yeah, hold
They're
back
melting
in the day, I gotta hold this mic up. Look here, but y'all call this mic on. Back in the day, we were treated poorly like that because we were seen as
we were peasants.
As
you were
less
already
than.
guilty.
Yes.
Right. And so I believe we kept, and this is why I don't understand all attorneys general from Sean McQueenie to Carl Bethel, how we have not changed these systems that are meant for a colony as opposed to a nation.
You know what they say? He who feels it knows it.
Yes.
They don't ever have to deal with that.
Well, they dealing with it now
On that ground level.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, and
Right.
but them said probably ain't gonna be back to do anything about
That's
it.
true.
So the people that can do something don't, at least to my knowledge, don't ever have to deal with it on that level, and so they don't see it as a problem. And so they're not going to do anything. If you don't see a problem, then you're not going to make any changes.
But this is what I'm saying. It's like if we're not raised with that ability to have this compassion and empathy, right? Which is to experience something you're not necessarily going through, but because you're a human being, can actually feel for that person who's going through that.
Right.
And if we have this highfalutin thing of saying, we're innocent until proven guilty, then we need to act like that.
Yes. But we don't. And it's oftentimes, it's automatically you're guilty and you have to prove that you're innocent.
Right, but also remember now too, a lot of times, again, jury of your peers, these are people who live and work and breathe and move in this country. People are fed up with crime. They're frustrated with crime.
Yes.
So they're looking for someone to get.
Yes, that is a very important point.
That's the problem.
That's a very important
point. And the
point.
fact that 44 years later, we have not seen fit. We've gone through how many DPPs? It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
But that's important, you know, that
I'm
people
looking
are
to get
so.
back at you.
But right, they're looking for some form of justice
Yes.
at the hands of anyone. They don't care who
Yes.
it is. We just need to punish somebody.
Yes.
Somebody need to suffer.
But this
Hang
is
on.
things that were said in the consideration.
Really?
You know, we can't let them get away with these things. I'm like, we're not talking about them. We're talking about this
One
man
person.
in this crime. There's
Yeah.
too much. You know, we have to make an example because if not, then they're going to think they can get away with these things. I'm like, how? No,
Yeah,
this
that's how
is
people
not what
think.
we're there. And the judge said that. You should not be considering these facts based on how many crimes are being committed out there,
Don't let the
who
crime be
you
like
think
yours.
needs to be making a example of. No, you are to consider these facts and these facts alone, because you are to be fair. You are to be, you are to serve justice both to the victim and you are to be fair to the accused.
And that's the dangerous thing, is because these jurors are coming from society where when you listen to the news or talk radio all day, all you hear about is how dangerous it is, the crime is high, and we need to punish, we need to
Yes,
hang, we need
yes.
to do this. And so they may be coming in with this mentality that we have
Yes,
to do this.
and he specifically told us. But you see, that's the thing too, right? I think that this guidance should be given to us before
Right.
we hear any
But he
evidence.
just
Right.
doing what he was
Oh,
told
matter
to
of
do.
fact, what I think they should do, if they want to keep the
Is there
jury system,
school?
it doesn't have to be a school, but you should at least have a certain set of tests or some way to
Tests.
examine
This
examine
niggas
people,
ain't
right?
Yes.
taking no test.
Certain, no, but it don't have to be. You can even have conversation, like interviews. You can get a lot from an interview, you know. Even if you do conduct interviews where you really ask specific
When are we that
questions
thorough,
to
Greg?
figure out where somebody is mentally and whether or not they have the capacity to deal with
Half the country
a
hurt.
case. But then that's what I say. It's
No,
committee.
but
That's
the
why
other
my
thing
is
that would
committees.
help,
But
right,
if you want to go with juries,
is to have, like, you know, some kind of junior judge or whatever in the room with us. So the moment someone makes a statement like that, they can shut that right down.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not coming, like, for me,
True.
no one understood.
or how about
one got it.
How about
It'd be like, oh,
someone-
that's you again talking, Farky.
How about, like you said, a junior judge, but somebody in that room while you guys are deliberating, and they could be listening and analyzing. They'd be like, you know what? This person needs to be removed
Yeah.
because what they said,
For
they
real.
are clearly not objective, and they are going to
Yeah.
hurt this case. So maybe they should have someone in the room that can, you know, just be a fly on the wall, so to speak, to really make that analysis.
Yeah, to
during
have
it.
people
That's
have
true.
some restraint, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, and of course we also like to do it, and again, having been around the courts, know people who work in the courts, because the expense of jury trials is that high. We're so busy trying to save money. We just let all kind of things buck up go, just in the event of saving money.
And you
we
know,
don't want to start again.
Give me an
Yes.
example.
We don't want.
yes.
For example, if I hear a juror saying certain things that are not palatable, there are people who will tell what's happening.
Right.
And so, but the judge will say, well, you know what, if we start again, man, that's more money we got to spend. We got to bring more people in. We got to go to the alternatives. A lot of times we don't want to do the work if we've already put in the work before, because we
Yep.
don't want to go and repeat that same work because we're being cheap.
Right.
And the Attorney General's office has always been problematic.
This
Always,
happens
from
within the
70s.
jury too, right? Because it's like, let's say someone said something and another person said, okay, that's just not acceptable. And then the rest of the people say, so what, you want to go back to square one again while they find an
Exactly.
alternative?
Let's talk
And
about
like, oh, okay, so you see
pressure.
how I
Let's
don't
talk
work
about
for
pressure
myself,
with-
right?
amongst the jurors.
You work for yourself.
Right.
We cool. We choose to be together, right?
Right.
I realized the second day after I was there, I taken for granted why I work for myself and that I love my partner, because every microaggression that you will find in any corporate or government is in there.
Now, come
There's
on, these people
sex-
don't want to be on their government job anyway. They like
No,
being
no,
on the
I'm not,
jury
yeah,
chilling.
yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Okay.
about how it's acceptable in every way. Like people they talk a certain way, and it's threatening, and they don't even realize that they're threatening you because they're male, by their size, the fact that they've been jury
Give us
on
an
the
example
jury
so we know what
before.
you're talking about.
Yeah, I know this example.
Give us an example.
So, you know, we when we first got organized, I was asked to. We tried to decide, okay, how should we organize ourselves so that we could share information properly. So they said, okay, let's do a WhatsApp group. So I said, okay. So I said, fine. I had my phone out. If you write down all your numbers, I can add you on. I added everyone, and I made the jury foreman an admin, because my thing is like, I'm only starting this group. I'm not administrating it. I'm not putting things in it, except if someone says, Farki, are you on your way? And I'm like, yes, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
So it was used to tell us, because the bailiff then talks to the foreman, right? And says, okay, have the jury ready to go at 11 o'clock, right? So then we know what time all of us have to go, because we are coming from all different places. And at that time, once we were already sitting on the jury, sometimes you start at 10, sometimes you start at 11, sometimes you don't start till after lunch. So as much as possible, if the bailiff could let us know that, we could not waste time, right? Those of us who were working could still work up to then.
All right.
So then one day, one of our jurors got a job, and she was interviewing, and so she got a job, and the judge excused her.
Okay.
So, but she was still in our group, and she still wanted to hang out with us. She'd also been on other cases before, and she was very bubbly, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a problem. Mm-hmm. So one day she was in the group a lot, and when we were sitting around, they said, take her out of the group. So it was just generally let out. I mean, it was just for this jury, right? So
yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Though. You wouldn't want outside.
So the jury foreman looked at me and says, Miss Farquharson, take her out of the group. And I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you're the admin. He says, aren't you the admin? I said, no, I'm not the admin. I am, because I formed the group, but you're the admin and you're the foreman. You should do that. And he told me, he says, did you hear me talking to you?
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, Wayne.
Like me?
Even if
no, Wayne doesn't talk to me like that, okay?
That's what he said to you?
Yes. And so he's sitting on the other end of the table from me, and I'm looking at him thinking, he's kidding me. Like, in my head, there's this, like, crazy Trina, and there's this sane Trina going, he's not talking to me, right? And the sane Trina's like, I hope not. And the crazy Trina's like, what the? Right? Yes. And he says, I said, if you think that talking to me like that is going to make me want to do it even more, you have another thing coming. So it's crazy Trina, right? And then he says, he got up, right? And he says, do you see my size? I said, let me tell you something. Some women might like that, because there was women on that jury duty that like that. I said, me? You better sit down.
That's a threat, though.
Oh, yeah.
What you mean?
That's a
you
threat.
See my size.
I said, yeah. I said, do that again, and let me talk to the bailiff. I said, you're threatening me? So this is what you have to deal with, right? And like, okay, I'm not the regular Bahamian woman, because this is like, then he subsided, and I'm like, cool. After that, he called me by my whole name, and we was good. I'm like, don't even think about it. No, but this is his way. This is a certain way. Yes, and women respond to it. I looked on in disbelief as women.
I hope you drag him.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Let me tell you, and then we went on Locust, and I had notes, right? Okay, Wayne had to screenshot these notes because I left them at home. Mm-hmm. And so when we go on Locust, we actually have the chance to question all the witnesses. That was the only fun thing for me. Plus, it's a beautiful island. My God, I don't know when I want to go back there again though. Because all I can think of is I'm never going back to that resort. We had to have lunch at that same resort.
Here's the murder scene, and let's have lunch.
Wow.
How you just do that, though?
Because there was limited places to have lunch.
Oh, this is true.
Oh, wow. That's ridiculous. But I want to get into, and it's so many things. This is why we could do it in 2 parts. We have to revisit next week with Stephen, right? But because I want to talk about witness protection, but let's focus more on you being on the jury. Exactly.
When it's promised people don't get killed, witness protection.
There's none. Basically, there's none. But I want to talk about, because we see it on shows as well. That pressure in the room amongst the jurors.
Yes.
Like some jurors trying to influence others.
Okay.
Like, let's talk about that pressure in that
room. here's it is, right? At the end of the day, there was 4 of us not guilty and the rest. Okay?
And how many jurors are there in total?
12.
12. So 4 out of 12 not guilty.
4 to 8.
4 out of 12. You said
4
it's
out
12
of
total,
12,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So 4 out of
Yeah.
12.
Right.
And the lady, there was me, there was 4 of us, and we were ladies, right? And there was this one lady who was, she was, I think, a little bit older than me. She was very balanced. She was compassionate, right? And like at the end, there was people pressuring her to try to go to the other side. I said, come and sit by me, please. Because this space,
Why are they pressuring
nobody.
each other, though?
This is my point, because it's almost like, because you want to go home. You want to get the decision done, and you want to go home. Because, man, see what time it is? I think I was crying when I left that courtroom.
Wow. So that pressure comes from them just wanting the case to be over with. Let's just hurry
And
up, get her
also,
there.
I'm telling you, what, you didn't see that?
Yes.
You know, you didn't see how he looked like he could, he knew
Wow.
where the murder
So
scene
they're
was,
trying to be
Greg?
the lawyer?
You serious?
Wow.
You can't be thinking that man should get away with it, Greg.
Right. That's great. And this is why I feel like it doesn't make sense to have regular people plucked from
I
society.
have been
juries.
in on the other side where I've testified on cases where jury members have held and physically assaulted other jury members
That's
to get
scary.
to the verdict. This
Scary.
is not here in the
People-
Bahamas.
What kind of justice is
These
that?
are humans.
What kind of
people,
justice is
people
that?
are-
And these are
people.
first world. Exactly. And the thing is that, you know, it's a microcosm of
Humans.
society, right?
Right.
And the worst thing you're doing is putting us into this tiny room.
Yeah.
Have you seen that experiment where rats are like overpopulated in a tiny room? Everybody becomes worse.
Right, exactly.
Worse. So this is not good. Not useful at all.
Man, look here. Child. That's why I be like, Lord, keep me away from
Yeah,
every
I
court.
think that's why it took so long to do this, Greg. It's very hard to talk
Yeah,
about.
and I know, and I
it's
know it's a
emotional.
lot, and that's why I wouldn't pressure. Like whenever you're ready to come,
Yeah.
just come on and let's do it, because I know it can take a toll. You know what I mean? So,
I'm so happy I never served.
boy, look here, you think it's you? I happy myself, and they never asked me. I don't want them to come
Sure.
either. But let me my comments person on the phone.
Yeah, she
So I
busy.
can run through this. But anything else you wanna that stood out during the trial that was just something that was just ridiculous that took place that you couldn't believe? Anything that stands out that you want to touch on before we go?
I think generally, like, we have this broken window concept where we cut corners. And although the judge was very precise about how he ran his courtroom, there was a lot of blah things. Like we knew the rules, and yet people would, you know, kind of like cut corners, and I just felt like we were just this little bit away from sliding to hell in a handbasket. Do you know, just
Lord, I
because
couldn't laugh.
just because it's just like we have this aversion, I think, to keeping to all the rules in
Oh,
a
yeah.
certain way, where people tell you, "Oh my God, you're just a
Order.
goody two shoes."
Child,
I
so
felt
please.
like very much that was the way, and that it was okay to be a certain way because most people were being like, even if it wasn't right.
the land of do as you please.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
So let me go through some of these comments because you know
Nelson is making me howl.
what Nelson? Anyhow, we can see what
Nelson
Nelson's
is right
saying.
Your comments on your
Maybe-
show. Y'all shared the video?
Yes, I hope y'all share the video.
Nelson?
Y'all ain't gotta pay for that.
Nelson.
say okay,
It's one of our
okay, y'all
listeners.
reach. Yeah, we started a little late today. Partner, I still partners.
I thought
We
we
was-
started. Oh, yeah, we started
Yeah, we started a little late. Yeah,
I
we
forgot.
was getting the AC
Air
or
condition,
trying
yeah.
to get the air condition sorted out. But look at Nelson trying to order cookies. Nelson, you know what to do. What's up, me? Please.
Ordering cookies.
Vera
off the-
Gibbs also
That's how,
asking.
when you talk about order, that's what Bahamians believe in.
Yeah.
Order. I'll have 2 chocolate chips.
Yeah, they won't
Okay,
order in the Facebook comments during
Yeah.
the show. No man, listen. Vera, what's up, me? 422-6524. Send your message there. Let me know what you need and I can get it to you day in advance. Okay, so yes, Cutter OJ. What the hell Nelson talking about?
Last time we were talking about the OJ trial with we talking about pull of OJ. We was talking about
Don't stab the person yourself.
Oh, jeez. Okay. And Gerard said, when I served as a juror, the justice instructed my jury foreman for us to return a not... What?
Yep.
Yeah, I read.
I
Hold on,
heard that
gotta read
happens
again.
too.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta read that again. 'cause
Read
I
it
don't-
again,
I don't think I
Greg.
read that right just now. Let me
Read it, come
read.
again.
Let me read slow.
Wheel and
Gerard
come
Ambresta said, when I served as a juror, the justice instructed my jury foreman for us to return a not guilty verdict. Why select a jury if the justice is going to instruct us on which verdict to return? Is this like real life?
Yeah.
I mean,
does this happen? Like,
well, it
what the
wasn't in
hell,
mine.
like? That is ridiculous.
But
Nothing
I've heard that it
surprises me.
happens.
And
Hey,
truly
Kira.
blessed Barry is, I guess, agreeing, says Gerard, that happens because the judge will inform you that they know the laws. So why, like he said, why have a jury? And this is my point.
You
it
judge
makes no
yourself.
sense.
You judge your damn
Juries
self.
don't make any sense.
But
That
we
is
gotta
ridiculous.
find out, and there are other countries, because I remember I did a show like this before, and there were other countries that have done away with that kind of system.
Right.
And there are alternatives, but I just think that our system is just so awkward
Yes.
that it's going to take a while.
Return a verdict, but it doesn't have to be accepted by the court.
And I didn't know that. I thought once
Oh, really?
the jury came
Yeah, because
up,
if they can direct you to return a not guilty verdict or a guilty verdict,
Oh, okay.
then they can overturn your verdict.
Lord, let me
Reagan-
get my excuse ready now for the jury.
Reagan Boleg is asking, are jurors allowed to say how other jurors voted after a case?
You mean by name specifically?
I think that's what she means.
I don't think so, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
the
think that
thing is
should
that
be
the actual jury breakdown is given, the voting breakdown is given in the news after,
All right.
or they can
But
say
they don't
by
call your
like
names,
yeah,
they
I
tell
don't know
you
whether they give the numbers,
8
but
to 4,
yeah,
6 to...
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't think you should though. Like you shouldn't be, giving out, that kind of information outside. Now we know that has happened, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't take place.
You have members
Because-
of parliament destroying trials by jury.
Yeah.
So please,
Yes.
nothing surprises me. Maybe I'm
All
just jaded.
Nelson say the best person to serve us is you, Greg. You will not cut corners.
Don't
Look
waste
here.
it. Don't really lose your
I
money.
ain't going to serve. Listen, not in that capacity. I want nothing to do with jury
$15
duty.
a day. You just make a lot more
Yeah.
money than $15 a day.
$15 a
Plus,
day?
plus, Greg, I'm a like
It's your
your
civic
brain. Oh my
duty.
god.
$15 a day.
I fear for the sanity of anybody. Like,
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Herdy Telford asks, what case are you speaking about? We don't need to get into the
we
specifics
can't
of
say
the
that.
case. What we're doing is just
I already
analyzing.
said too much.
Yeah, we're just analyzing the system and how it does not actually give us justice.
Right.
And so it doesn't have to be a specific case because clearly this kind of thing or these kind of things that we spoke about happens in many cases.
Well, look at the case
unfortunately.
with the banker who was killed, and look at the many twists and turns in that case.
Mhm.
oh, you mean the one with his
okay.
wives are on bail? Uh-huh.
But yes, it is. It is.
So there's so many people are seeking justice in this country. It's just so sad.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Elizabeth Chinese Williams says, yes, Greg, too many unqualified
sister.
people are judging. Must see
Costa
it.
Rica, man.
She says too many unqualified people are judging. And this is my thing.
But do you want to add another system that decides who's fit to judge, who's fit to be a
Yes!
juror? We don't have the time, money, or resources.
Chrissy, listen to me. When you want to go and
the
get
jury
a
test.
driver's license, you have to take a test and you have to prove yourself worthy
Those
to
who
obtain
do.
this license. At least that's how it's designed.
And we know that's even faulty,
But
right?
that's how it, but that how it's designed. There is no way that you have to go through more to obtain a driver's license than you should have to go through to be a juror. There is no way that there should be more filters to a driver's license
to
than
drive
a
a
jury.
car than
Yeah.
to judge a man's
It's,
life.
there's no way.
Once
no
you
way.
can vote, you can
Or
be on the
to
jury.
direct the course of your nation.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So it's things we have to
Take
analyze.
tests. You want people who run for office to take tests?
Listen, you have to prove yourself
We
worthy.
will get
When
a
you
shit
go,
done.
when you apply for a job, you don't just show up and say, "I, as a Bahamian, and I am above 18 years old. This is my job." You have to prove. You have to provide your qualifications, and you have to prove yourself capable of performing the tasks that are going to be asked of you. So how can we not require that of people that are determining literally
People's lives.
people's lives? It just seems ridiculous. So my thing is, I think juries don't make sense. I don't feel as though regular citizens should be jurors. I think you should get professionals that are trained in certain areas to handle specific cases, and they know how to analyze evidence and deal those things. But if you are going to keep this jury system, which I don't know why you would,
Yes.
if you're going to keep it, at least let's have some filters or some kind of way to weeding
Improvement.
out people. Yes, improve upon it to where we have people that are actually qualified and able to judge.
And willing.
Yes, and willing.
Because I
Most
hope
importantly.
by appearance on this show that I'm no longer
No longer willing.
No, I'm no longer waiting, but I
And
don't
that's
also
important.
qualify.
Yes, and that's important that you said it because you could be qualified, but you still may not be willing to
Well,
do it,
yeah,
and that
it
can
should
affect
be
the
your
case.
free choice.
Yes,
And
yes.
I don't feel like seeing no gory, bloody, disgusting pictures. I remember a magistrate's court situation, and I missed and saw some pictures working in a law firm.
Did you puke?
That still haunts me
Yes.
to this day.
And
Still haunts me to this day.
let me
Being a
read.
journalist too, coming on crime scenes.
Got
Oh,
any? Oh,
I don't want to be a part of none of that no more.
Wow. Let me read this last comment by Herdy Telfort. Says, in a jury trial, a directed verdict is an order from the presiding judge to the jury to return a particular verdict. Typically, the judge orders a directed verdict after finding that no reasonable jury could reach a decision to the contrary. So why have juries? This is my whole thing.
No, it's like you said.
What is
it's
this, just for
it's
show?
something kept over time that no longer serves us.
But you know
it's
that's-
like how we still have the plays and films.
Mike,
Sorry,
yeah.
we still have the plays and films control board. Why do we need that? We keep things because of our colonial past
Tradition.
that no longer serve us.
Tradition. We
It's
just
a
we
waste of time
we
and
do
money.
things because we met it here and we can leave it
like
here.
our
It's a long
appendix.
time.
Yeah, appendix?
Yeah.
Well, we
It's
don't
not
need that.
needed. Nope.
Well,
Why you
no.
dead end? Now hold on now. You sound like a
Yeah.
bush mechanic now.
No,
If
seriously.
if you
And
operate,
that's why
I don't have my appendix
it gets infected because it's
If
like
you-
a dead end.
I ain't buying that.
Well,
I ain't
Yes.
buying that with
Appendix
you.
number
If
one.
you
Go research
operate on
it.
my car, right? I ain't had no
need
screws,
that alternator.
no screws when you start.
Mm-hmm.
If you finish the job and I see about 3 or 4 screws on the ground, you can't tell me as a mechanic, man, them screws, you ain't need them.
Yeah.
Why they put them there?
I
No,
agree.
we used to need it,
But,
and then it's a part of it.
What
It's
was
a
it when we
vestige.
ate- when we
It's
foraged?
like we had a tail.
Was it when we
Well, we were
foraged,
only
right?
and we needed it because
Right.
it was like
well, I don't
rough
have my
stuff we ate.
appendix.
Oh, good.
Oh,
I
tonsils.
still do, I think.
Well,
And we have a tail too. Don't
Well,
go
like,
there.
don't
Though.
have a tail.
No, I
The
know
Earth
that.
is not flat.
Oh,
I
Lord.
wouldn't even get in that discussion with anybody. That's,
know what?
that's just from you coming with that. Okay.
I
Have a nice
Okay,
day.
yeah, bye.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
But Trina, is so much more that we
So
could have
much
gotten
more,
into, but so
Greg,
little
yeah.
time.
I gotta go and have some vodka first, though.
Yeah.
Child, this is tough.
Yeah, this one always wants some.
I
See?
want some vodka right now.
Yeah, but I think we got a good idea of
How
just
crazy
how
it is.
flawed, how ridiculous, how crazy the system is, and why so many people are met with injustice. And this is why, listen, you better stay out of trouble at all costs.
Please,
because if
please
you end up
stay out
getting
of trouble.
charged, your
Don't get
life
your
is
lunch.
literally in the hands
Yeah.
of a bunch of unqualified people.
I told my children that. I said, I don't.
Stay
I
out of
don't-
the police
Just
manhunt.
don't.
Yes. Don't even get
Because
close.
I cannot guarantee you justice.
And my
Yes.
grandfather used to say, had you not been the crows been found,
Mm.
you'd have been safe and sound.
Yeah, there you
Stay
go.
away from them crows.
Yes. So on that note, we're gonna wrap up this week's episode. I want to thank
That's
you
an
for.
hour already?
Yeah, man, that's an hour and gone, man.
An
We
hour
done
and a
been here
bit, yeah.
more than an hour, yeah. And we gotta go. It's
Yeah,
after
I
7.
gotta
yeah.
pack.
Yeah, we gotta push out. So you don't like when I said it. You want me to end it like I ended last week?
Chill.
We gone.
We gone.
No.
What
we
I
out
say?
here.
No.
We out here.
We out here. No, I say we out here.
No, you said,
What I say last week?
yes, you did. And I can
Anyhow,
say
something.
We was.
Something I say and you laugh at me. I's a
Something like
Bahamian,
that.
Chrissy. I's a Bahamian.
We gone.
Yeah.
We gone.
Push out, King.
Until next time.
Get your old reporter to sound like them old Channel 7 news
Hurry up,
reporters.
hurry up. Oh, 7. Look, I got to be home 7:30. Hurry
Oh
up.
my
what
God!
it is.
Why?
You forget?
What happened then?
Get-
Oh, you want to see him do the
Power?
bike lane limp again?
Look here, I got to see Shane Shuffle on Rev TV.
Jeez. They have a repeat. You can catch the 9:30.
No,
Boss,
no,
there's
they
a video, boss.
No, it don't matter. I don't record. See, I record ZNS. I don't record cable.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Is
Well,
that
let's go so you can get to that.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, people, for tuning in.
Ciao.
As usual, thank you for your comments.
Bye.
Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for the shares. If you haven't already, please share the video. Tag your friends. Make sure they see it. We have important discussions to move this country forward.
Yep.
And we appreciate you guys for tuning in once again.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Trina. Appreciate it. And it's been a long time coming, but it's well, you know,
Yes,
it
it is.
was
It
worth the
is.
wait.
Yes.
You reached, you gave us some good information, some good experiences, and we appreciate
Thanks
that
for
greatly.
sharing, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
we appreciate it. Because
Appreciate
not a lot of people could. It's hard.
It's very hard.
It's a lot to deal with. And so we appreciate you for sharing that with us. So, again, thanks, people. We gone.
Bye.